Welcome to class. Today we're going to be doing a Hatha class focused on our hips. So we're going to do a bunch of different poses, all working on opening those hips. Remembering that we store a lot of emotion in our hips. So if you feel a little bit more emotion moving after you finish this class, just know that that's natural because you just released, you just stretched, you just opened, and you just allowed some movement to take place within you. So please start in a comfortable seat. Remove that excess flesh from those sit bones. Really root down to the earth below. Gently close those eyes down, and on an inhale that spine up a little bit taller. The next inhales the shoulders up, and the exhale rolls them down the back. Allowing an opening to come across the chest and across the heart here. Make sure that you are extending all the way up through the crown of the head and that chin is parallel with the earth below you. And with this beautiful extended spine, we're going to stay with this as we bring our awareness to our breath. We're not going to move the breath, adjust the breath, judge the breath, any of those things to start. We're just going to observe it. How is it today? Is it short, shallow, deep, long? Is it high in the lungs or low down in the diaphragm? Just notice it. And as you're ready, slowly begin to deepen that breath. Allowing it to come further down in the body, into the diaphragm, and feeling that belly inflate and deflate with those inhale and exhales. And beginning to cultivate that Ujjayi breath. So bringing that tongue to the roof of the mouth and almost constricting the throat a little bit so you hear that ocean sound coming in and out on those inhales and those exhales. And if you haven't yet cultivated that Ujjayi breath, just feel free to breathe in and out of the nose. But I encourage you to try. Again, this is a practice. The more we practice these things, the easier it's going to become, the more natural it's going to become for us. An important part of our Hatha practice is that we are holding poses for longer amounts of time, for longer breaths, more breaths, so that we have time to really be in the pose, to align in the pose, to show up fully in each of the poses that we move through. And that is really going to be our intention as we move through our practice today, to give ourselves time and space to be in each pose before we move on to the next one. And when your next inhale comes, let's inhale those hands to heart center. And as a group, I would love for us to set the intention to be present. To be present as we move through this practice together. And embody that presence right now. Show up fully on your mat, in your body, in this moment. And return to that beautiful, steady breath that you have already cultivated for yourself. Continue to connect with that breath. Few more breaths here. And remember, we want to be gentle as we focus on this breath. We don't want to push it too hard. We don't want to force anything. We want to guide it as it guides us through our practice. Gently bow that head. Return to center. Release the hands. Open the eyes. And let's come to a tabletop. Hands shoulder distance. Knees under those hips. Tuck those toes. And we're going to rise right up into a downward facing dog. Before we get too much into our techniques, just really feel this pose. You know, we're still warming up. You need some movement in the legs. Just make sure to stay with that breath. I do want you to look up at those hands. Make sure that they are shoulder distance apart. That wrist crease is parallel with the front of the mat. Really rooted in those hands. Keep that breath flowing. Our next inhale is going to inhale us forward to plank. Lower down chaturanga halfway. And with that inhalation, we'll rise up, upward facing dog. And that next exhale, we'll tuck those toes, downward facing dog. Really rooting those hands. Lifting those sit bones. Extending those calves down towards the earth. And then next inhale, one more time, forward to plank. That exhale lowers us down, chaturanga. Inhale, rise up with that beautiful breath. One more breath here. Really pressing into those feet. So those thighs are lifted here. Those shoulders are coming back. That heart is coming forward. Beautiful full chest. And then next exhale, downward facing dog. Remembering you can modify it anytime if you need to. We're going to do this one more time. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Bring those shoulders back, heart forward. One breath here, and that exhale, downward facing dog. I'm going to inhale, right leg. Exhale, bring it up between the hands. Rotate that left foot down. We're going to come into a side angle here. So this hand can come on the knee if you want, can stay on the earth. Left hand's going to start on the hip. This back foot, the outside edge is parallel with the mat. Knees over ankle on this front leg. And when you're ready, on an inhale, we're going to inhale this left arm up. And we're going to extend it out towards the front of our space. So we have this line of energy from the outer edge of the left foot all the way through the arm here. Nice steady breath. Deep inhalation. Exhale, release those hands down. Step that leg back into a plank. Lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, rise. Exhale, press it all back. Inhale here, left leg up. Exhale, left leg forward. Rotate that back foot down. Outer edge in line with that mat here. Left hand on the inside of that leg. You can keep it on the mat or come up on the knee. Or you can have those fingers floating if you want. Inhale, that right arm up. Exhale it forward, really extending outer edge all the way to the fingertips. If you find you have a hard time breathing, just really bring that hand up to that thigh here. Stay with your breath and really focus on that base. Those feet are rooted. They are steady. They are giving you strength and power here. Beautiful work. Another deep breath. And that exhale releases it all down. We're going to step right back into downward facing dog this time. Stay with that beautiful breath. In downward facing dog, we get the opportunity to stabilize that breath. With that stable breath, we are going to step that right leg forward. Rotate that left foot down again. Straighten the right leg. You might want to walk it in a little closer. We're going to come into triangle pose here. Left hand's going to come to the inside. Left hand to the hip here. So let's work on this foundation first. So we're going to rotate the left hip back and we're going to bring that right hip underneath here. We're going to extend that spine nice and long out through the crown of the head. We need this beautiful physical foundation set up here. Your next inhale inhales that left arm up. Can rotate open in that chest. Stay with that breath. You can come to the ankle with that bottom arm if you want. Root through those feet, and on an inhale, we're going to rise up. Warrior two, engage that core. You might want a little bit more space as we bend into that front leg. Knee over ankle here, very important. Press into the outer edge of that foot. A nice steady breath, reach through those fingertips, extend that spine up nice and tall. You can look over that front arm if you want. Couple more breaths here. Beautiful work. Straighten this right leg. Turn this foot in. Gonna open now on this left side. Toes are coming to face the side. Come into that nice bend here. We're gonna come back into a side angle. So bring that left hand down. Right hand on the hip first. Bring that left hip under. Roll that right hip back. When you are ready, inhale that right arm up. Really twisting open here. And stay with that beautiful breath. If you feel like it's speeding up or quickening or you're holding it and you need to find variation like coming up on the leg, do it. The breath is so important in this practice. And once you get in the pose, there can be a lot of alignment. And it doesn't even let us sit still. So just take a moment and be in this pose. And if the mind starts to get active, find an adjustment. Bring that knee back over the ankle. Press the back edge of that back foot. Seal into that pose. And when you're ready on an inhale, rise up. Warrior two. And you might find in practice today that I've mixed it up a little bit. Maybe we're doing one side a little different than the other. Sometimes we get so set in it having to be perfect, so even. Is that life? Sometimes we need to do things a little bit different and we need to be okay with that. When you're ready, straightening this leg. We're going to rotate this foot back to face forward. Rotate that right foot open. We're going to come back into a bend. We're going to rotate fully around here and come down on that left knee here. Take the hands to the inside of that right leg here. And if you want to work a little bit more here, lift that back knee back up. Rotate that back foot down if you want to push even further. And you can bring those hands to the small of the back as we rotate down here, humbling ourselves. Nice steady breath. Really press into those feet, lift up a little bit higher. Pull those hips forward so we're not dropping back out behind us. Nice and aligned. One more inhale. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Inhaling here, left leg up, exhale it forward. Back heel to the earth. And we're going to build this pose just like we did on the last one. So if you want to, you can bring that knee down. If you want to push yourselves further, stay lifted. That foot is flat here. Clasp the hands at the small of the back if you'd like. And humble yourself, falling forward here. Same thing, don't let those hips fall out. Tuck them under, press those feet, lift up and engage here. Stay with that breath. The breath is that integrated part of us that just spreads through the whole body. And what moves that breath? It can be the mind. So be with that. Sustain that breath. Breathe steady. And then exhale, release. Stepping back, downward facing dog. Should be building up a little heat now. One more time, we're going to step this right foot up between the hands. We're focusing a lot on the hips, so we really have to work on warming up the lower part of the body. So let's rotate this left leg down, inhale back up, warrior two. Make sure that knee is nice and over that ankle, outer edge is nice and rooted, reach through those fingers, lift that spine up, rotate the gaze. Breathe here. One more inhale. Exhale, release it down. Step back, downward facing dog. This time we're going to bring that left foot up between the hands. Rotate the back edge of that foot down. On an inhale, rise up, warrior two. Same thing here. Make sure that knee's over the ankle. Really rooted in that back foot. Spine's extending. And hopefully we're beginning to get that. And I don't need to lead with those cues every time because you know how it feels. And you can just be here, be in this pose together. Now let's straighten this left leg. Let's turn this left foot in. Turn this right foot out, warrior two. One more time. Steady breath. And we're going to bring these hands down if you want to the inside of this right foot. We're going to play with a bind here. So let's take this right hand underneath. I'm doing this so you guys can see my hands here. Left hand over the top of the back, really rotating open here. Allowing us to lean back, and if you need to shorten that stance to give yourself more support here, please do it. Really press those feet into the mat, lifting up to create that space to twist open. And if that pose is beginning to break down, use that mind. Go back to those places. That back foot, press that edge in. Make sure that knee's over that ankle. Stay with that breath. And when you're ready, stay in that back leg nice and steady. Inhale, back up. Warrior two. Turn that right foot in. Turn the left foot out. Once again, we're going to build that pose on this side. So bend that knee. Warrior two. Can stay here if you want, or bring those hands to the inside of that left leg and come into that bind again if it feels right for you. So bringing that left arm underneath, and this right hand's coming up behind. Breathe here as we lift and twist open here. Again, if you need to shorten that stance, go for it. Stay with that breath. Allow your body to open. Allow the hips to open. So we're working those hips. We're even working those shoulders here. Stay with action in the legs as if you're pulling them in towards each other. Really staying active and supporting our base here. 2 more rounds of breath here. Keep it full. Keep it steady. Beautiful. Exhale, release those hands. Step back, downward facing dog. Next inhale, inhale that right leg up. Right leg forward. Between those hands at the front of the mat. Drop that left knee down. And we're going to bring those hands to the inside of this right leg. And I know there's a tendency here to drop right down on the forearms. But sometimes when we do this, we move it out of the hips and we move it into the back. And we don't really want to do that. So let's walk the hands out a little bit in front of us. Press that left knee down as we rotate that right hip back here. Lift the heart forward here. So we're really feeling a scissoring action in the legs here to open those hips. And listen to that breath. Stay with that breath here. You can even count it here if you want. Breathing in 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale. 3, 2, 1. Pause. So trying to bring balance to that breath, which allows that mind to settle. Beautiful. Bring those hands back a little bit and step back into downward facing dog. Now let's do that on the other side. Inhale, left leg up, step it forward. Bring that right knee down, hands to the inside of that leg. Stay with that steady breath. And just like on the other side, let's walk the hands out in front of us a little bit here. And hips, you know, we don't work our hips a lot. And so the feeling in some of these poses can get pretty intense. Breathe into it. Get that feeling first. And then let's move into that alignment. Staying present. Staying relaxed. Bring a smile to your face as we press that right knee down and pull that left hip back here. Breathe here. Pull the heart forward. Stay with that breath. We're already in the body here, which is why I'm bringing focus to that mind that's controlling breath and that heart. How is it feeling for us? And then bring those hands back, step that left foot back, downward facing dog. One breath here. Then step that right foot up. Left knee down to the earth here. And from here, we're going to reach this right hand around. We're going to bend this left foot. Reaching back to grab that foot here. Really lengthening up. And then gently pulling that foot in. The right hip has a tendency here to want to turn into this twist, and we don't want to do that. We want to really lift up and support those hips staying in line. Really lengthen here. The belly button's almost pointing down here, and we're twisting with that upper back here. Nice, steady breath. And release that leg, hands back to the mat, step that foot back, downward facing dog. One breath here. Now let's bring that left foot up. Lower that right knee down, just like we did on the other side. Bend that right leg, reach that left arm back, grab that foot. Same thing here, don't let this hip come into the twist. Really press into the foot, lift up, keep those hips in line. Nice steady breath. And really focus on pulling that right thigh forward here. It's going to take it out of the knee a little bit more because we don't want any pain in that knee here. Continue to breathe. Stay light in the practice, so if that means a smile upon your face, put it on. Continue to breathe here. And then slowly release, come back to that downward facing dog. Really root those hands, extending back. Lift those sit bones, extend those heels. Breathe here. Release the neck. All right. Now we're going to bend our knees. And I want you to look down at your heels. And I want you to pull those heels down towards the back. And feel yourself almost pressing your hips out here. Okay? So some really subtle movements. And then we're going to straighten the legs, but try to keep that open hip here. Good. Now we're going to step this right foot up. And we're going to come in a pigeon pose. So you can walk the foot over if it feels better to you to just pull it over right away. You can do that as well. As I said, this is a hip class, so we're going to do lots of work on those hips. So really look back, make sure this back leg is nice and straight and in line. Nice steady breath. If you're feeling any straining in this front knee, you can actually walk this foot back towards yourself a little bit more. And you have two options. You can flex the foot here, or you can even rotate the top of the foot down and press that into the mat a little bit more. So it's really engaging the leg, which is supporting the knee. So we're going to activate those muscles a little bit more. And we're going to pull that right hip back as we pull that left hip forward. So a beautiful motion here in those hips to try to pull them in line. Really breathing here. And if you want to, you can come down into that sleeping pigeon, come on those forearms, or you can stay lifted, whatever feels right for you. Really feel into this pose. And do your best to still keep the body active here while also letting go into the pose. Notice if there's any tightness. So possibly that's your right hip. Feel into that right hip. Now imagine pressing that right foot down, pulling that right hip back and almost broadening that hip here. And feel back into the hip. How has it changed? Has it shifted at all? And can you maintain that change? Beautiful. Walk back up. Root those hands. We're going to return to downward facing dog. Tuck those toes. Step that right leg back. We're going to come to that other side. So you can step forward, walk it over, or if you want to, just bring it right over into that pigeon, you can. Walk that right leg back. Look over the shoulder, make sure it's nice and straight. Continue to breathe here and really feel into this pose. So I want you guys to focus on, press that right knee down and pull that knee forward as we press that left hip back. Breathing here. Again, if you need to, you can bring the top of that foot down or flex the foot. Nice and engaged. And if it feels right, you can come back down onto those forearms again. Staying engaged in those legs while also letting go. And be mindful that your shape might not look like this shape. So just be patient, feel, and build your pose to the best of your ability. And the best way to start is with that breath. A meditative approach with pranayama that brings us present into these poses, into these asanas. Beautiful. All right, bring those hands to the mat, pressing back to that downward facing dog. Root here for a breath. And then slowly come down, bring the knees to the mat. I'm going to turn to face you guys, but you guys can stay at the front of your mat. We're going to start with a figure four. So set the left foot down, bring that right knee up to the ankle. We have a tendency here for the hips to kind of roll under. So press the hands on the mat, lift that bottom up, and rotate those hips back, and then set back down. And feel the difference that is. And we're going to make our way into fire log pose. So we're going to walk this left foot underneath, and this right leg is on top. So we really want this ankle over the knee here. So if that means there's some space here on the other side, that's absolutely fine. That's more important than walking the foot further down and being able to connect here. Keep the feet flexed, nice and supported. Really active here. So you can even bring the hands to the feet for a second. Just push in here. Feel how that activates the legs. And then as you release, try to keep that activation here. Keep that spine nice and tall. And take a moment to bring awareness to the hips. And that's what firing up this feet is really important, because there can be some pressure that happens as the hips kind of pull into the lower back here. But we want to assist in creating space. And so as we flex these feet, we're allowing this whole space here to open up and create some space for us. And if you want to go a little deeper, you can lead with the heart, extending forward. Hands can come out in front of you. You can bring palms to touch. Whatever feels right, breathe into those hips. Keep that beautiful length in the spine. Never rounding here. Stay with that steady breath. When you're ready, we're going to slowly inhale. We're going to come on out. We're going to go to side 2 here. So put that right foot down. Left ankle above the knee. Same thing we did on the other one to release those hips. Set those hands on the mat. Lift up. Rotate those hips back and create that space as you set back down. Incredibly important. And then we're going to make our way back into that fire log. So we're going to bring that right leg underneath. So that left leg stays on top. Ankle over knee, knee over ankle. And some of you guys might be up like this, and that's totally fine. Breathe into the body, whatever your body is allowing you to go today. Flex those feet, and just like we did on the other side, we're going to really press into these feet, activate those legs. Nice and engaged. And then come back to that breath. Maybe we can do some of that counting again. So when you're ready on an inhale, inhaling 1, 2, 3, pause. Exhaling 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale. 3, 2, 1. And then moving. However that round feels for you. Maybe a little shorter. Maybe a little quicker. But be with the breath. Be aware of the breath and be the one moving that breath. Being present with that breath in this moment. And if you want to, again, extend that spine forward for a few breaths. Beautiful. And that next inhale lifts us up. Release those legs. And we're going to move into Gomukhasana here. So we're going to start with the left leg underneath. So bring that heel over towards the sit bone, and this knee is going to face forward as we bring this right leg over the top. If you feel those hips kind of pulling over to the right, you can lift up and kind of shift that hip to the left if you need to. We want to try to stack these knees, and again, your knee might be really high if those hips are tight. It takes time to be able to move into some of these poses. Make sure that this right sit bone is not sitting on the heel. There's space here. The next inhale inhales that spine up tall. Close those eyes if you want to. Breathe here. If you want to go deeper, on an inhale you can lift that heart up, and on an exhale you can extend that chest forward. Keep the sit bones rooted. Stay with the breath. Wherever you'd like to go with this. Stay with that breath. Feel into the pose. So we have our mind, our heart, and our body co-creating, working together to be in the present moment. And by staying with that breath, we can slow down that chattering mind. That chattering mind that takes us to the future and to the past. Stay with the breath so we can stay in this moment together. And that next inhale, engage the core as you lift up. And we're going to switch sides. Releasing those legs, and then we're going to bring this right leg underneath. Knee facing forward, bring that heel towards that left sit bone, and then bringing that left leg across the front. Stacking those knees to the best that we can. Again, if you need to lift and rotate that right hip further over, do it. Try to root that left hip down. Stay with the breath. And remember, you can take time as you move between these poses. When you hold poses for a longer amount of time, you need a little bit of dismount time, as that blood can rush back through and everything can settle and be ready to move into that next posture. And if you want to go deeper, just like we did on the other side, inhale, lift that heart up, lift that spine, exhale, lead with the heart as we extend forward. Remembering our intention to be present. We're almost done. Can you stay in these moments together? Can you stay in the intensity of these poses? Can you breathe into those hips? Few more breaths here. Keeping that spine extended. When you're ready, engage that core as you lift back up. And slowly release these legs. Great. All right, we're going to bring the left leg underneath and this right leg on top here. So on the outside of this knee. So if you need a block, you can do this with the block. We're going to root the hands, we're going to lift up, set the hip over to the left, and sit again. And it's going to allow this left leg to get a little more inner rotation here. But if you need to use a sit bone, a block here for the sit bone, you absolutely can. We're going to take this this left hand, sorry, and we're going to wrap around this leg here. Can set this hand down. And remembering that we're moving more from the thoracic spine, so the upper part of our spine here, this belly button can almost stay forward. It's rooted, supporting the lower spine, and we're twisting with the upper body here. That core is engaged. And remember, stay with that breath. And it's quite amazing because when you stay with that breath, it almost helps guide you into that alignment. There's this intelligence with the body when we allow that breath to move that allows proper movement. Nice steady breath. Breathe into that spine. A lot of the time people just do the twist with the head and we rotate that head back. But we don't want to be just twisting the neck. We want the spine to be turning. Not just the head, not just the eyes, that whole spine. So you don't even need to force that head back. You could just look a little bit off to the right. Really focusing on the spine here. And then we're going to slowly release. We're going to change sides. So we're going to bring that right leg underneath, left leg on top. Root those hands just like we did before. Lift up, bring that hip over to the right. Feel that part open up here. And then with that, the left hip will get a little lighter. So really press that foot down, which is going to help root that left hip back down into the earth here. The right hip might be heavier here, but just really focus on rooting that left hip down. And then we're going to take this right hand, wrap it around that leg, inhale that spine up tall, set that left hand on the earth behind you, and twist with that upper spine here. Remember that lower spine's engaged. It is tight. That stomach is tight. That core is tight. It's pointing forward as the upper spine, the chest, is rotating back here. Stay present. Feel into the pose. Beautiful, steady breath. One more breath here. And then slowly release, coming out. And we're going to make our way onto our backs. Support the spine as you lower down, and we're going to go right into Shavasana here. So extend those legs out long. Lift up, tuck that, pull that tailbone forward so the lower part of the spine can root on the mat. Let the hips fall open, those feet fall wide. Rotate the shoulders under the body, palms facing up. And just let it all go. Let the breath go. Let all of the muscles go. Feel into the sensations within the body, that prana, that energy moving, that you opened up, and that is allowed to flow freely through your body now. Be with that in this moment, right here, right now. Slowly begin to deepen that breath. Bringing some gentle movement to the fingers and the toes, the ankles and the wrists. And when you're ready, inhale those arms above the head, reaching fingertips to toes. Full body stretch. Rolling onto our left side. Gently pressing ourselves back up. Returning to that comfortable seat. That beautiful extended spine that we started our practice with. And then inhale those hands back to the heart. And be with your breath for a few more moments. Be present in this moment, in the moments moving forward. And recognizing that your hands are at a place of balance in front of the heart, the left and the right side of our beings. That left side, that feminine energy, the right side, the masculine, balanced at our center, at our heart. And with this balance, we'll inhale those hands up to the third eye, bringing that balance to our point of clarity. And at an exhale, bringing those hands to the lips, bringing balance to our words and balance to our truth. And then exhaling those hands back to the heart, bringing balance in our love and balance in our hearts. And from this place of balance within me, I recognize, honor, and appreciate the teacher, the light, and the divine within each of you and all beings. Namaste.